So it's recording. And so let's link this guy. Let's link this CSS to this place. Hold on. So the meeting is about, so I'll need to create another meeting again. Maybe you need to send her the next one again. Okay, yeah, let me just create another one. She'll see it when she joins. Start an instant meeting. Yeah. Copy this, close this, and paste this here. Paste this here. So you guys can join with this one now. Can you guys hear me? So let's move to this one before it closes. Alright, so we have our changes. Which one are we even using? This or this? I can't tell anymore. So let me close it and reopen.
You are muted.
Oh, sorry. Sorry guys. So I've been talking to myself all this while. Sorry. Thank you, Amachi. Alright, so go live again. So now what we want to do is, let me make this sort of this gray too. Stop sharing, I'm using a lot of colors. This blog. This guy, this button. So instead of BTN primary, let me make it secondary. Yeah, secondary will look better. BTN outline secondary, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, so this looks way better than that color flying around. What I wanted to do was make this guy smaller. Yeah, I remember now. So let's link it. I hope my voice is loud enough. So let's link CSS and then assets, styles, gradebook CSS. Yeah, looks quite smaller now. You can even use placeholders. That would have made more sense. But yeah, let's just forget about it. Placeholders would have made much more sense. Margin 0, padding 0. That didn't take place. Probably something somewhere is overriding it. I don't know, but if it doesn't work, we just move on. That's not why we are here today. Yeah, so yeah, let's continue. Now what I wanted to do is to take whatever is written here, add it as a paragraph into this place. I need you guys to pay attention to this now. This might probably be the only thing we achieve today, or the major thing we achieve today, right? We want to take whatever we wrote here, add it to this place. You do another one, we'll add it to this place. That's what I want to do. So we'll come here, we want to have this div. This is the div containing all the guys. So what do you want to do? You want to put a paragraph inside there for every time we click on this create button. So I'm going to pick out this create button. Does it have an ID or something I used to track it? So let's give it an ID. Let's give it an ID of create blog. If that doesn't exist, I hope it doesn't, because this is not create, this create blog. And then alright, so an ID of create blog, we go to which JavaScript are we going to use now? Is there JavaScript here already? I don't think there is. So now I'm going to do something. I need to set a max height to this thing instead of setting a fixed height, because I think the height is fixed, kind of. So this guy probably have a height that is fixed. I don't know how he's getting the height. Oh, I think it's coming from the rows or something. You guys remind me. But somehow this height is... something is giving it this height. I can't remember what we did again. Oh, this is it here. Yeah. This is it here. It was even an inline distance. So let me... 10 rem, alright. So let me go to this place and do this guy. So it's supposed to be an ID. This guy. So instead of setting heights, I want to set max height to be 10 rem, right? Right. So that means it's going to shrink. It's going to shrink, but then when we start adding things to it, it will start increasing until it gets to 10 rem. Blah 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 blah. So we have... oh, so this is not working. It's passing the max height. Set a max height to... was it 10 or 8? What was there before? Yeah, it was 10. So maximum height 10 rem. Let's make it important, see if it changes anything. That's happening. Create blog. Oh, sorry guys, I'm targeting the wrong guy. I'm targeting create blog instead of blog content. My bad. I don't think we need this important. Yeah, this is what I was expecting. So if you don't have anything to shrink or completely disappear, and then when we have something, it will increase, but it wouldn't pass that our maximum height. Sometimes it can come in handy. So we use this ID to put things inside here when on this button click. So let's put an event for this guy. Do we need to create a JavaScript for it? That thing is in so let's create a create block JavaScript. Create block.js. Alright. So event listener, I'm going to add an event listener to the button. If you don't understand what I'm doing, please let me know. At this point, I expect us to be following with, because this is code we'll be working on since, so I don't expect to be doing a lot of explanations around it. But if you don't understand, please let me know. I better do the explanation than waste my time talking to myself. Alright, so this create block, where's that guy again? Where's the create block guy? The button. Alright, so here. So we want to put an event on this button to listing for a submit or for a click. Or listen for a click on the button. Or a submit on this form. So let's put the event on this form generally. Let's put the event on this form instead. I can take out this action, it's not needed. So create blog, fetch the guy with the ID of create blog. Fetch the guy with the ID of create blog and submit. That's not the code. It's not create blog supposed to. That's supposed to be here. When you click on this place, it will add. That's here. This is doing the final creation. This is doing the final creation. So add blog paragraph. That's what that guy's supposed to be. Paragraph, yeah. Add block paragraph. So this thing, I will move it. That thing I added in the form. Let me just differentiate it. Create block from on. Add another ID with create block only on that small button with that paragraph thing. This button. This is the guy that we want to be using to be adding the paragraph. So I'll give it a class, an ID, sorry, of create blog, and then on this click on this button, we want to do something. So go there. So instead of click submit, I'm using click because a button no longer a form. So on the click of this button, we want to add paragraph. So function this guy takes in the event. Takes in the events. Console clicked. Hold on. I don't know why I did it like this. So let's confirm this is working. So let's link this JavaScript to this place. Remember, JavaScript is the last guy we load. So no scripts. What was the name of the guy again? Create log. Yeah, so for some reason it's not suggesting. I don't like it. I'm always worried whenever just code is not suggesting. I feel like something is wrong. So let's try it. Let's look at our developer 2. I've seen a lot of errors. I hope. Yeah, so it's working. It's showing clicked. But somehow it's reloading because that button is inside the form. So we need to stop that from happening. Alright. So how do we do it? We prevent defaults. Alright. That should fix it. So nothing is happening at all. That's strange. So I think there's an error. Oh, is this guy supposed to be clicking it? So let's find out what's stopping it from. I removed the console log. Somehow I'm expecting it to show. Follow me. Yeah, so it's persisting now. Prevent the defaults. Now what do you want to do? When they click on, let me remove this event list now. We just copied it from the other guy. When they click on this guy, we want to pick whatever is inside here and add it as a paragraph to this man. How do we do it? When they click on this guy, we target this other guy holding the paragraph, the content, which is let me even reduce this. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Let's leave it that way. This guy, this test area. Alright, let's make it 2. So it has an ID of example form content test area. That's a bootstrap ID, but we use it like that. So we target it and get the value. Alright, so once value equals documents dot get element by ID. What's the ID? This guy will copy it. Dot value
Sir.
yeah yeah
No, it was actually that comma I was being
oh okay, yeah, thank you. So run this, then let's console log it just to be sure it's picking it. It makes it easier if you keep looking at what you have. Somehow I don't know what's happening to either my hand or VS Code. One of us is faster than each other than the other. So we'll have this guy on typing some jargon. Alright, so yeah. So next we want to do is to move it to this guy. Move it to this guy. So picking the value and then want to move it to the guy. This guy. This guy. We don't want to move it directly, we want to put it inside the paragraph. So we create a paragraph and then throw it inside that paragraph. Alright? So how do we do that? So we're not going to make it a string, we're going to make it because now we want to make that editable. I want to make that editable, so we can make it a list of paragraphs, yeah, and edit it. Or we can use an object so that we can easily pick out each one. I don't know how we're gonna do it. Let's make it a list for now. If we need to, then we can make it an object later on. So let's create a list of paragraphs and then fix them inside this place. So whenever you do that, so you const const blog templates, let me call it that, because I'm gonna have a p tag because I want it to be a paragraph, a p tag, and then inside it is going to be the value. So let me use this so I can do interpolation. I have a p tag, and then inside it I'll put in value. Alright, I'll put in value, so I can take this out, and then blog templates dot push blog templates. We haven't created blog templates, so create this array somewhere here. Now we don't want this to happen on every click, so we create it outside the function. An empty array by default. It's going to be an empty array by default. And then blog templates of push blog templates. We keep adding, we keep pushing, and then whenever we push it inside it, we want to display whatever is inside it inside here. So we're going to call the function display new contents or paragraphs. Let's call it paragraph. Display new paragraphs. Alright. So this display new paragraph is going to be a function. Display new paragraphs. What's it going to be doing? So it's going to be looping through all of this, whatever is inside here. You can actually use a list. The li listing li what's it called? Li elements. You guys know li elements, and be adding it as a child to it. So just like I told you, there are always 1,001 ways to do all this stuff. So as I was doing this now, that also came to my mind. So this will be an empty array, empty string, and then we'll look through whatever is inside this guy for, okay, let me use a shorter one, dot for each content. So for each this templates dots plus equals contents. So if you don't understand, please let me know. I know I'm kind of fast today, but let me know if you don't understand. So make this a let so it will complain. Yeah?
I don't know, like, I have like a suggestion.
Okay, yeah.
Rather than having we like trying to loop all the like over all the articles on the this thing. Like, can't we just like when someone types in the title of a blog, we append that as an element under the parent element,
As
and we
is.
just add each whatever array we have, rather than creating a function again to loop over it and
So
start
what you're
adding.
suggesting in essence is we keep incrementing the content as a string. Is that what you're suggesting?
We have like a parent element, then rather than doing this dot push. Okay, we'll do the dot push, but we're going to just do we're going to append the block templates, and then we just push the content into the um, array we are creating. Maybe next time when we are just running the program for the first time, we just get that all those block, if it's going to be stored in local storage, and just map them rather than doing it almost every time someone tries to create a block.
Okay, so what you're suggesting is we have a parent element where we can make these an element instead of just a string
Yeah,
and push to it, like append it to it on every click.
yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
that
yes.
works. That works, but we'll have one limitation, which is why that limitation is even why I was thinking of using what's it called, an object. So the limitation we're going to have is I would want us to, when we're done creating, I want us to make it editable. So if you're appending it like that, if you want to edit it, you are going to also loop through. In fact, anything you want to do on it, you're going to be looping through the elements. Remember, we want to save this as a string. So if you create an actual element and append it to it, to pick it out, you have to loop through those elements, pick out their values again, and convert it to string. That is one. Two, we want to, if you want to edit it, all right. Although that can actually, but then if you want to edit it, when you click on the edit, it brings it here. If you are done editing and click on add, there is no how you're going to tell this man this is the particular one that I picked this thing out from. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
You're talking about the editing part,
Yes, so
like if
is a two-way
like if
thing.
we click on
Continue, I'm listening.
like if we have like all our blogs post created, we can just run a function that okay, whatever is clicked on, we get the text content,
So
and then we're trying
how
to
do you
change.
track the one that's clicked on if it's not a list or an object? If it's just what's it called? If it's an element here. Remember at this point we've not created it. We are just picking all these things out
Mm,
and keeping it as okay. When you are done, you create. Remember, we're not clicking on create, we're just clicking here. So these guys here are
okay,
still just strings.
okay.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I don't really get.
Okay. So let me continue. I understand what you're saying exactly. I thought of that too. But because of that editing and then the fact that we will need to save this as a string, because this is a blog, we are just putting this paragraph to
Mm,
add some what's it called? Add some structure to it. Normally, it should have been a test, a long test. So this is like doing a markup on it so that when you display it, it makes a little sense. You don't just everything is not just modeled up. You understand? So what we're going to
mm,
do is we could use LIs, but LIs would have done very well. But I don't want to be converting back to string again when they click on create. Or we could do that. But then if you do LI and you want to edit, you don't easily um, get the guy that was clicked on. So I'll go back to using the objects. That object to make it easier for us, which is what I wanted to use initially. So I'll go back to using an object instead of um, an array. That will make it easier for us. So when
It works.
When you get this guy, then we probably might need to keep a count. Okay, we can make this an array still. And make it an array of objects. So instead of pushing this guy directly, we're going to push an object that has number. So we have let's call it number. Okay, let's say index. All right, index is going to be this guy dot length plus 1, and then contents will be the block templates. Who doesn't understand? You don't need to understand the whole thing, but do you understand line 14? Understanding the whole thing might not make a lot of sense because whatever I want to do is inside my head. Yeah, Sebastian, yeah, continue. I can hear you. You raise your hand, Sebastian.
Okay, again. Yes, yes. Like, I don't understand why you are doing the index, you know.
Okay, so if I use an array, all right, and I
Mm,
select, there are two ways I can do it. So if I use an array and I select something, I could keep track of the index of the guy I selected, all right, or
mm,
I could
okay.
just use an object and have the index as a key. Either way, it's gonna work. But you know, arrays now, for you to do the index, okay, yeah, if yeah, yeah, who is that? I mean, yes. Amarachi, you want to say
Okay.
something?
I wanted, I wanted to ask about line 13.
Line 13, okay, yeah.
The, the quotation you use is not looking like the normal one and the dollar sign.
All right. So let me do something. Let me switch back to using arrays anyway. We could just use the index whenever you click on something. No, but if you click on something, how are we going to know the index of the one you clicked on? I'm actually, I'll get back to what you're saying. Because we need to get the index of the one you clicked on.
So I have an idea.
Yeah?
There's something I suggest we will do.
All right.
Um, it's very very funny, but it will work. I know it will work. What if we can get, like, when we create a block, we get like the time in milliseconds, maybe dates like gets now, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We get the time in milliseconds, then we turn it to a string. We now make that string to be in ID because I don't know, I'm going to say explain it, but when we create a block, then we also try to get the time that block was created in
Mm-hmm.
milliseconds.
Mm-hmm.
So we now like do this method to string to turn that to a string, and that will be the ID of maybe that block we are creating. So yeah, when we want to like get our post back or we want to edit, then we try to find the one that has that particular ID.
Yeah. I
Then
get what you're saying.
that
I get what you're saying, but that's like far ahead. What we are doing now is we've not even started. Remember, I said we've not started creating the blog yet.
okay.
So what you're talking of now, I get exactly what you're saying, and it's a perfect idea actually. But we'll get to that place. When we get to that place, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm at the end of the day, I might still get back down to using um what's it called? I was actually wanted us to do something Okay, we'll still go back to using a string, an array, because I just thought of it now. What I'm trying to do with the object, I'll still do it with an array. So let me go back to using an array. So I'm actually, this is what is happening on line 13, right? We want to create, remember you can put HTML elements, you can inject HTML elements from JavaScript like this, right?
Yes.
That's what we're doing. But instead of having a random text here as the content, we want to have this value as the content. Does it make sense?
Yes. So,
Alright, so I can continue.
but the dollar sign.
So the
When
dollar
you
sign
connect
is, let me show you another way of doing this. Sorry. So this is what the dollar sign is doing for us. What we would have done now if we didn't use dollar sign would be this. Then we do plus value plus, I'm sure you understand this one. Do you understand this one?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand this? Without this.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So this is exactly this. But because it's more difficult to do this and more difficult to read, we don't want to do it. We do interpolation. So this is interpolation. And to do interpolation in JavaScript, you don't just use normal quotes, you use backticks. This guy. What this dollar sign is saying is, it's not just the dollar sign. The dollar sign and this thing goes hand in hand. The dollar sign and this curly brace. What it's saying is, anything you see inside this curly brace following a dollar sign is not the actual value, is a variable. Pick the actual value, put it inside there. Because if we put only value like this, it's going to be displaying value in our front end. But if you put it inside this interpolation, it's going to pick the value inside this value and display it instead. Does it make sense?
So,
Alright, thank you. So now we are going to so yeah, this is another place that would make sense. ID will be equals, I'll still do interpolation again. So I want to use the length of this and the ID. Dot length. Alright. So when we do this, we push this guy into this place and then we display this. So we'll push it alright, so look through the display new paragraph, we'll look through all of this, add all of this to this place, and then where is that guy where we want to display the stuff?
but when you put line 13,
Huh?
the one you are working on now is line 13, you do not move to line 14.
Alright, so this blog templates.push is where we now push this string representation of an element we created into this variable and push it inside this our array of elements we are trying to create. We'll push it, we'll call this function that will look through whatever is inside that place, concatenate it into a string, a regular string, and then display it. So we're going to get the elements where we want to display it, which is this guy. I've copied the ID already. So, and then make that guy to be the, so documents the get elements by ID, this ID dot inner HTML pause. I hope this, it always forgets this. We pause this guy. Yeah, hopefully it works. So let's check if it's to work. So I have some other stuff here. Alright. I add another random stuff. Alright, so that works. Add another random stuff. Alright. So so that works. The only thing we might need to do is let's see where it stops. We need to also clear here. It should stop at a point. Yeah, I think it stopped. So if you now want to see it to scroll, yeah, it stopped. So once we do this, we clear this. We clear this. So let me, because we want to use this again, let me create const text area elements equals this guy. Alright, text area element equals this guy. So text area element of value, and then once we display this, text area element dot text, sorry, value equals an empty string. This should work. Alright, so now some jargon, yeah, some jargon, yeah. So we need to maybe find a way to make this. We actually need that space though, don't we? We do. CSS. CSS stands for, so let's create a blog for CSS. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. So copy that. CSS stands for cascading style sheets. We add, what's the next one? CSS describe blah 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 blah. CSS describes blah 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 blah. We add CSS blah 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 blah. We add again, and then the last one. If we had used, oh, so I guess this meeting is about to end again. Then we add again. So I think this makes sense. At least we'll have the 4 of them now. So if it's actually a real blog, it's going to be a bit lengthy, more than this, right? So, but I think this is fine. And then, who doesn't understand what happened there? I can go over it again if you don't. If you didn't understand what happened here, this thing that happened here, if you don't understand, let me know. Yeah, go on. If you don't understand, let me know. Yeah?
Yes, I don't.
Someone is talking, but then the person is not talking at the same time.
You say if you don't understand, if you do so.
He said, yeah, no, go on. Like, ask your question. Where is confusing you?
The one that you added after showed me that
Which line?
interpolation,
Okay, from that interpolation
that
down.
like the thing.
From that interpolation down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So, do you understand line 18? Do you know why we're using line 18?
Okay. To prevent it from repeating.
All right, for reloading the page, right? Thank you. Now,
Yeah.
all right. So now, when what we did is actually to create one paragraph template, which is this man, this guy. That's what we did. We created a paragraph template with the content, this guy. What else did we do? In fact, let me even show you something, so that will make more sense. So this is main. If I open it, you see this guy. I think no, it's not inside here. It should be here. If I open this, you see that form. This is the form. These are the divs. See that one with block content. Then inside the one with block content, which one has the test areas? So yeah, this is the one. This is the one where I added the block content. I'm looking for the one that has the test area. It should be maybe somewhere up here. So yeah, this is the test area. All we're doing is to pick the content of this test area and create a paragraph. You see that paragraph here now that we created with an ID of the index. This is the first guy, so index is start from 0, so it's giving an ID of 0. So what we're doing is, when we write something here, we want to pick out that thing we wrote and create a string that looks like this. This is how to write a paragraph. So we want to create a string that looks like creating a paragraph. This thing here, bro. This is it here. We are dynamically adding it when we click on this button. Does it make sense up to this point? Alright. So now when we create it, that is just one template. But we know we are going to be having a list of templates. It's not just one. So you should be thinking of something that's a list. Initially, I thought of an object, I thought of an array, I thought of the URL elements, whereas the list elements. So because I know it's going to be a list, I'm thinking of something that will be a list. So we have a list called block templates, and then in that list, I have each of these templates. I push it inside it. All right, I push each of these guys inside it. So when I click another one, it will still push again and display. If you notice, it has added that one here. If I click another one again, it will add it. So we are dynamically adding all of these guys inside this place. How? Here. So when we push this inside it, it's still a string. If I do console.log here, we'll just see a string of all of these guys. Not making sense. I now call this paragraph every time I push. So this paragraph will now look through this array of strings. In fact, let me do console.log. Maybe it will make more sense if I'm showing you guys. Console.log, this guy. Excuse me. I add some random jargon. You see what it's like? An array of that string, nothing else, just that string. If I add another random jargon, the array increases to 2 items. If I add another random jargon, the array increases to 3 items. But because I'm calling, this meeting is about to end. Yeah. In 10 minutes, yeah. So, but because I'm calling this function which is looping through this array now, which is looping through this array and picking out the contents, which is actually a string that represents a HTML element, and then actually making them an element by making it the inner HTML of this content. So what we do is, instead of having them as a string, an array of strings, we now make them to be one string by concatenating the contents here. We loop through it, we concatenate it. By the time this is a loop, this is a kind of loop. I showed you guys different kinds of loop now. I just use one here. If you don't understand, go and look for video where I explain loops, or you hover over it and read the explanation. So I'm looping through the elements of this array, picking each of them out one by one as a content, and then concatenating it inside this empty string. When I'm done looping and concatenating, I will make whatever string I achieved the inner HTML of this guy, of these elements. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is literally picking out these guys, making all of them one string, and then putting it inside here. But then not just as a content, but as inner HTML. It will now convert this string to a real HTML. That's why they are not appearing as a paragraph, no longer as one listing. There is actually a very easy way of doing this. I don't even need to loop. It just came to my mind now. So that's why we always do refactoring. After writing your code and it's working, you can now refactor, because all the ideas won't come to your mind at the same time. So I can do a join. I don't even need to do all of this here. I'll take out this loop and I'll say block templates.join. Used to separate one element of the array from in the resulting blah blah blah. Add elements of an array into a string separated by but it's going to take the separator. Yeah, so we don't need that separator. The separator is not going to allow it to work, so it won't work here, because this guy is going to have a separator, and except we want to make the separator an empty space. That will also work. So let's make the separator an empty space, because we don't want comma inside there. So let's say separator is an empty space. That should work. So this should do the same work, all things being equal. That's not correct. So I add some random jargon. So random jargon. It's working. So we don't need to do that loop anymore. So this join, we actually pick out each. Let me console log it so we'll see what the join does. It will pick out each element of this array. So if you provide a separator, if you provide a separator, it's going to use that separator to, though it's a string, it's going to use that separator to like separate them. So I try to be smart. Instead of providing a separator, I provide empty space, because I know HTML will ignore empty space. So if I use a comma, it might not render correctly. Alright, so let's do this so you can see, look at the console and see what that guy is doing. Blah blah blah. You can see what the template is. So it's doing a join and then using that empty space. If I add another one, it's joining them together. So this is the first one, this is the second one. If I add another one, it will join it too. Alright, so that will help us avoid the loop. We can take this loop out now. Makes our code better off. Can also take this out. Can also take this out. So guys, I think we'll call it a day today, because the next thing we might want to do, we won't finish it before the next class. So I think we'll just end it here. Any questions, so that by next class we'll now do editing and then the real creating. Any questions? If you don't understand anything, you can ask before our time elapses. Do we all understand? We didn't do much today, so I expect us to grab it as fast as we can. So if we all understand, then that means you guys don't have any question. I don't know if I'll give you an assignment. If I should, I'll give you guys an assignment. What will be the assignments? I'm looking for something. So see what I want you to do. See what I want you to do. When we click on this thing and click on add, it creates an element. I showed you guys. It creates an element, right? It creates this element. Look at the ID. They have an ID. Alright? So I want you to put a function on this create. Okay, no, not on this create. I want if they click on any of these elements that is creating, all right, if someone clicks on it, I want you to console log the ID and the content of that element. Those are the two things I want you to do. Console log the ID and the content of the element that was clicked. Who doesn't understand this assignment? If I click on this thing, if someone clicks on this, I want you to console log the content and the ID of that element. Who doesn't understand? Who doesn't understand? You all understand, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
The assignment should be ready by before tomorrow's class. It's not a
I
big
need
one.
to push the code this time.
Yes, I'm trying to push now. So I do git add git add git commit adding of log paragraph. Alright. Git push. So I've pushed. I'll merge. No, not here. Come to this one. Don't mind me, guys. So I'll merge this to the main branch. So you can pull the main branch and compare and pull and create prepare. So this paragraph. I'm merging to the main branch. Blah blah blah. Alright, so I just merge to confirm merge. So you can pull from the main branch. Alright, and you see all the changes we have worked on today.